ready? You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. Yours
Perfect.
is Drina. Is it Drina or Darina?
Driana. So like
Driana.
Sienna, but with a Dre.
Okay, got you. Driana.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So listen, I am in no means an expert at doing this, Coach D. You know me, dude. I'm an effort and attitude guy. I'm a passionate guy. So you guys are the experts. I'm gonna rely on you guys. We have some questions. We have some stuff. Like always, Coach D, I always try to do this, man. And I respect more the person than I do the politics. I respect the family values than I do anything else. Okay. Before we
Absolutely.
started, we had a bunch of stuff here with the fires going on and it having to be in your backyard, man.
Yeah, where is that happening in relation to you?
It's nowhere near me. I'm 6 hours away, although my daughter goes to college out there, so she's there right now.
Oh my gosh. Well, is she all right?
Yeah, she's good. She's fine. Yeah, she's
my first question in this, Coach D, and we'll let you start, is do you get upset at what's happening? Are you like, oh, I knew this was this guy's fault or this person's fault? Are you like cool with it? Where do you stand with this, man? Because I told you this in the last time I had you on the show. If your party had more people like you, it would be completely different. In my opinion, still. Like, I think you're the guy that needs to lead a lot of these things, right? How do you feel about everything that's going on, man?
So first, I always try to refer to the experts on this stuff. And, you know, when I listen to like the fire department, the firefighters and stuff like that, they'll say things like, you know, structures are like fuel for fires. And then you have 50 to 100 mile an hour winds and stuff like that. So these are things that happen in California. I'm not cool with it at all. Obviously, there's going to be some mistakes that are going to be made by officials, by the fire department and stuff like that. But for the most part, you know, these are things that we deal with as Californians. I think trying to simplify it down to some of the things that we hear in the political spectrum is really just people, you know, trying to politicize something rather than referring to the experts on it. I refer to the experts. I have firefighter friends, police officer friends, people who are in the area. And I just think that we can't reduce this to, oh, this politician said you should have done this and that should have been done. And had you done those things, it wouldn't be like this. I mean, we've had fires in California, regardless of who was leading this state, if it was a Republican or a Democrat. You can make the argument that there could have been better things done, but I don't think you can just reduce it to that. I think it's too complex of a situation to just reduce it to some things that we hear in politics.
No, that's like, I'm so sorry to hear that that's going on around you right now. And seriously, prayers and my thoughts go out to everybody that's going through it, regardless of politics. One thing that has driven me crazy is when I hear, you know, like, oh, haha, it's California, from people that are on the right. And that's a very, very, very tiny group of people. But obviously that doesn't represent like the values of every normal human American. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that could have been done different. You know, the LA mayor supposedly reduced the budget for the fire department by $20 million. I don't know where that money went, maybe catering to a bunch of other departments and illegals and other stuff that, you know, does not benefit the citizens. I don't know the intricacies of that. Could they have had a lot of more water in reservoir instead of thinking of like a certain species of fish or something like that I heard? Yes, absolutely. And yes, it's important to call out people in these things. Obviously, nobody wants to jump on politicizing something when there's so many people that are losing their lives or losing their property. Nobody wants to politicize it. But if we don't call out the people that are responsible for things having been a lot worse than they could have been, then we are going to just keep seeing the same problem happen over and over again. And yes, a lot of the people, I mean, Governor Newsom has been told by Donald Trump a long time ago that there's different and better ways of mitigating these kinds of issues from happening. Yes, there's always going to be wildfires in California. It's a fact of life, but the way that we deal with them are obviously important to focus on. So I think that's what everybody on the right is saying, that It's just that the people that are in leadership in California, the left that has ruled California mercilessly for so many years, they are absolutely to blame for not putting their people first, for not putting their citizens first, for absolutely prioritizing everything else but the people that they're supposed to represent first. That's why people are pissed off, because yes, there could have been solutions to prevent that big of a catastrophic event from happening had they actually taken different actions instead of focusing on, I don't know, whatever, weird, crazy DEI, LGBT, whatever stuff that like California likes to focus on, instead of just practical things that they need to be doing to support their people. Of course, government has a role. That is it. That's like one of the primary ones that they should be focusing on. And unfortunately, they have absolutely failed their local population. And hopefully this is a learning situation that doesn't happen again in the future, that new solutions are brought forth, and that people's minds are open to hearing solutions from the other side of the political aisle, just because it would benefit their own population and their own citizens.
Could I ask you,
what do you think? What do you think, Coach?
If you're going to say things like they were spending their time possibly on DEI and LGBTQ, do you have any like proof that that is what caused them to not have their eye on these fires that happened?
This was absolutely, that was a generic statement. What I'm saying is that California focuses on a lot of things that are not practical solutions, that are not, practical day-to-day things that the role of government should be involved in, right? I'm conservative.
What are some of the
I have libertarian tendencies, by the way. So I believe my motto in life is live and let live. Am I an anarchist? No. I think that we need government to protect individual rights and individual liberties. And one of the roles of government is making sure that we have a local law enforcement department, that we have a well-maintained and well-funded fire department. Like, those are the few things that we ask for. And unfortunately, California is always, California dreaming about other things that aren't the practical stuff that matters. That's
what are some of the practical solutions that you're talking about that California could be focusing on that you don't think they're focusing on?
So absolutely. And I know we had spoken about things that we wanted to get into detail with, but here's, for example, my personal political philosophy. My personal political philosophy is live and let live, right? Do whatever you want as long as it doesn't affect me or my pocket. As long as you're not asking me to change my lifestyle or pay for your lifestyle for the things that you want, I'm cool with it. I believe the role of government is to support our rights to live and let live. So two things that can threaten, right? That can threaten the right for me to live and let live. If obviously we have some kind of outside force trying to invade us, if we've got to worry about, I don't know, Russia invading us or Germany or whatever. So yeah, the role of government should include defending us from outside threats, because how am I going to live and let live and mind my own business if I'm worried about Russia coming to invade us later on, right?
I'm sorry.
Let
him go. Go, Coach D.
I'm sorry. You mentioned practical solutions that California could be doing in order to have done a better job with these fires.
So California brings in so much money in income taxes. I mean, they are known for taxing the crap out of their citizens. All of that money should be better focused on these things, obviously, like local law enforcement, collaborating nationally with other law enforcement, like, for example, the Border Patrol and ICE. They should be collaborating with other departments that are national. They should be focused on investing money back within its own citizens instead of giving any free benefits to people that do not contribute to their own economy. So people that are illegals, and they've mentioned this before, California has a really big bleeding heart, but they use the money that taxpayers like yourself pay to then help fund those people that are not contributing to the economy. And that money could have been going to services like transportation, services like the fire department. Okay. Not just that, at the local level, this should be brought in at a much more local level. LA is huge, and I'm just taking LA as an example. LA is huge. To have an LA fire department, I'm sorry, but that needs to be broken down and split, and those fire departments should probably be a lot more local and community based. And in my ideal world and situation, the local community funds their fire department. So instead of paying LA taxes, local taxes, for them to then distribute the money how they see fit, wouldn't it be better if you and your community had to give those taxes to your local community government, and they're the ones that then reallocate that money back into the community?
All right. Here you go, Coach B. Go for it, buddy.
Okay. Go for it. Go for it.
I just want to make sure I reiterate that we were talking about the fires, and I asked, you said that California could do practical things to have taken care of these fires, and I asked you to talk about those, and you never did. And then you talked about no, you didn't. You talked about Russia invading us. You talked about illegal immigration. That has nothing to do with it. You also said
the role of government and what they should be doing versus what they shouldn't be doing. So that's why I went into that.
I'm gonna talk for a little while now, though. Okay. So you said that you talked about the $20 million that was cut, or the $17.5 million that was cut from the fire department. Do you have any idea what that was cut for at all?
Nope. I said it.
That money was reallocated to the LAPD. So the reason why that money was reallocated to the LAPD is you're a conservative, right? You consider yourself a fiscal conservative?
Yep.
So then you understand that the budgets need to be looked at. Sometimes there's political pressure to cut budgets. We're talking about that right now with, the Doge and all of that, right? So there was political pressure on her to cut some funds and reallocate some funds. So those funds were reallocated to the LAPD. So exactly
why was money missing though from LAPD in the first place that they needed to take it from the fire department?
That doesn't mean money is missing. That just means that the funds are not there. It doesn't mean money is missing. Doesn't mean there's anything.
But why? Are the funds not there? LA is freaking rich.
But are funds just unlimited? You just said you're a fiscal conservative. Funds are not unlimited. Where do those funds come from? They come from taxpayers,
from you.
Right? Okay, so the taxpayers, so there's a certain amount of money that they take from taxpayers. That money wasn't enough to fund the LA Fire Department and the LAPD. There was pressure on them to say, hey, what are you going to do with this funding? So they reallocated some of that funding to the police department. This is exactly what you said that government should be doing. They should be taking their money and they should be using it towards government funding, right? So that is what they did. So now if you have an issue with how much funding is coming in, then you're kind of talking about taxing.
Raising taxes.
Okay, so you believe in
but that's not what I'm advocating for.
Okay, so you're not advocating for raising taxes. Nope. So let's talk about what you would need to do if you can't bring in more money and you're allocating funds, you have to make some cuts. Yeah. So some cuts were made from the fire department. Those cuts were not cuts that actually affect their ability to do the job that is had to do at those fires. Like sometimes you think
I think the entire country would differ on that. We're all watching the same TV, right? We're all watching the same news.
I know, but yes, we are. We're watching the same TV. But when I ask you to clarify a point, see, you're throwing out a lot of vague things, and when I ask you to be specific about it, you just went on to more vague things. I'm being specific. When you're talking,
I can be even more specific, but I thought we were going to go specific later on into the show.
If you're going to talk about something, I think if you're going to talk about something, you should be specific about it. You shouldn't say,
okay, I'll go way deep
into detail. If you say there are practical things that can be done,
absolutely. I think another huge issue that LA has, and not to divert from the fire conversation.
Hold on one second, Dren. Hold on one second.
Go for it.
Let me ask a question, Coach D, because okay, when because I try to look at both sides, right? And obviously, when an athlete does something wrong, they're gonna blame that he was at a nightclub the night before versus being at home sleeping. They'll look at anything, and maybe the guy just got nervous and missed, right?
Yeah.
When they start attacking the sheriff or the firefighter captain or whoever it is, and they go, because she's LGBTQ, whatever, and she's proud of the amount of LGBT people, diversity people they've hired versus qualified people to actually be able to attack fires like this and that. In your opinion, Coach, is that just them doing that thing of like picking, or do you see some vitality in that?
I think it's really them just doing that thing where they're picking. I've been on many hiring committees. Anytime we bring up anything like diversity, equity, and inclusion, it is about casting a wider net. We never hire someone based on their diversity, based on their being LGBTQ. We cast a wider net so that we can get more qualified candidates. These people who are being hired are not unqualified. Again, these are things that, you know, this is a political thing.
Isn't there a quota that needs to be met, though?
There are no quotas. There are zero quotas.
If there's like a DEI policy in place,
there
isn't there
no
a
quotas.
Quota of certain amount of people from certain backgrounds that needs to be met?
No,
so then,
there are no
so
quotas.
then in essence, there isn't a DEI policy being implemented, or what is the case?
There are no quotas. There are zero quotas. What diversity, equity, and inclusion does is it casts a wider net.
How do you cast that wider net? And I'm genuinely curious.
How you cast that wider net is you make sure you post your job openings in the most every area that you can think of. A lot of times when we were putting out job postings, a lot of those job postings went to the same colleges, the same communities. What we decided was, hey, why don't we put these job posting in more Hispanic communities, in more HBCU colleges, so that way those people are seeing those jobs being open as well. People seem to think that DEI means you're just, I got hired because I was Black. And this is personal to me because when I was hired at my job as a professor 20 years ago, one of my high school teachers who I asked for a job for a reference told me, as he's handing me the reference, and you're talking about someone who was a straight A student, a college athlete, at the time that I was a Division I, two-time All-American, I was also at the top of my class. And as he's handing me my reference, he says to me, and hey, if you're getting this job because you're Black, it doesn't mean anything. It still doesn't mean you're not qualified for it. That is what people think about DEI. I've been a state, a Northern California, a national.
So you should have gotten your job based on your qualifications.
And I did.
Which is what everybody that I know and what I personally believe in as well, that it obviously race doesn't matter. You had the grades, right? You had the experience. Yes. So in that case, we're advocating for the same thing. And if it is the case that we're casting a wider net to bring these people in, you would hope that you would have more applicants and you wouldn't have any kind of lack in applicants for these kinds of positions, which from what I heard wasn't the case for the fire department.
Where'd you hear that?
LA.
Where did you hear that?
That there was a shortage in people being hired for the fire department?
No, that
because there was DEI implementation. So people that were qualified but may not have met the correct background. That is absolutely one of those realities that the fire department hired based on that.
Can you reference where you heard that? Because that is not the case with DEI in California.
Recently, so that is the case, actually. And it's not just, I can't just quote one newspaper because it's just a reality. So it's policy, right?
But I'm telling you, as a person who hires people in California,
even moving past the DEI thing, because again, since this is, we're going to talk about the most recent news, and that's obviously the California wildfires. Even if we get past this DEI stuff, and however it is that the LA government decided to fill its positions for the fire department, the reality is that they still cut the budget to, as you mentioned, transfer it to the police department. And you've got to wonder, okay, why did they do that? Is it because, I don't know, there's rampant crime in California due to the fact that it's almost impossible to freaking prosecute criminals. And so they need that extra support. So it's like you're trying to put, water into a fire, ironically, but you keep making the problem worse. As in, yes, you've got a police department, but liberal policies are not allowing the police department and law enforcement to do its job. Only recently, actually, did at the state level California pass a law that finally allowed what they used to consider petty criminals to be prosecuted. Back then, criminals knew that if they stole underneath, I think it was $1,000 worth of stuff, that they weren't going to do anything. They were going to be released, and it was going to go down as a misdemeanor. That changed recently, and I don't know if you saw this video that went viral on two women being arrested in the back of the car saying, "Oh shoot, they passed that law. Yeah, now what we did, yeah, we're going to go to jail for this." And so I think that that's another big issue. It all stems down, unfortunately, from really bad liberal policies. Can we agree on that? Because unfortunately, that LA Police Department shouldn't have probably needed the reinforcement. And of all places to take money from, the freaking fire department. Don't you think that the LA government had some way? Don't you think that the LA government may have misallocated $20 million to other programs and other things that are completely freaking unnecessary and unuseful to citizens that live there?
All right,
and
now
that is where the problem lies in.
All right, Brianna, we got it. Brianna, right, we got it. Okay.
Okay. That was my point. And we can keep talking about this, or we can talk about another topic, but you go.
I want to talk about this real fast, because what I think we need to realize is that correlation doesn't equal causation, doesn't equal correlation. So unless you can point to the fact that, you know, the policies of, you know, DEI is what caused the firefighters to not be able to. But listen, let me finish. Unless you can actually like draw a line between DEI and why these fires aren't being taken care of, bringing up DEI in this conversation.
You brought up DEI.
It's just you trying to politicize this and make this about DEI. When you bring up illegal immigration, or you bring up people stealing or being able to steal, if you can't draw the connection between that and why these fires are not being handled correctly, what you're doing is you're just trying to make something political when it's probably not. There could be multiple reasons why these fires haven't been, you know, taken care of in the way that you don't think they, in a better way than you think that they should have been taken care of. And some of that is what I mentioned early on. We have winds that are 50 to 100 miles per hour. The experts, the firefighters, not I heard the other day or I saw on Fox News, the actual firefighters and the experts on the ground there are saying when you have structures like this and you have 50 to 100 mile an hour winds and you have a fire, it is almost impossible to fight those fires. I don't care how much money you have, how many firefighters you have, you are just fighting against something that is very hard to do. So I have a problem with trying to conflate two things that you're doing where you're saying
I know you can't control.
Finish, because I got to make the point. When you were saying things like, you know, maybe if California weren't worried about DEI or LGBTQ or illegal immigration, they could fight these fires. And why the hell would you ever cut from the fire department? You literally support a party right now that is talking about changing, you know, the age of Social Security, possible making cuts to entitlements. Like, you support a party that is fiscally responsible. So to say that there should be unlimited funds to the fire department.
We're talking about me, not the party. The party has sucked over many years. I'm trying to make it better.
But you're voting for that party, right? You're here.
Oh yeah, because it's much better than the other. Okay,
perfect. So if you're a fiscal conservative, when you say things like why cut from the fire department, my question is, should there be unlimited funds going to fire departments?
Should there be unlimited funds going to fire departments? I don't know what unlimited funds to fire departments looks like, but I will tell you this. Biden just sent another 500 million or billion, one of the two, dollars to Ukraine.
Okay, here we go.
Ukraine, correct.
Again,
I don't know. I feel that could have been going, and those resources could be going towards helping people here in North Carolina that are still living in freaking shelters from that hurricane. And in California too, because yes, California is its own state and it has its own resources, but we also have national emergency resources, FEMA, that apparently were drained because they were giving money to illegals in New York City versus helping Americans when natural disasters happen. That is true. And that is, if you wanted a direct correlation, there you have it.
With all due respect, what you're doing is you're rattling off a bunch of talking points without any actual facts to back them. There is no proof that FEMA is broke. First of all, FEMA is not broke. The money that you're talking, FEMA gives a certain amount of money during national disasters, and then people have to apply for more money. To say that the money was going to illegals and that's why
Kamala told this to us ourselves.
Can you please cite where you're getting this information from?
Kamala, Google on your phone. Kamala Harris, Joe Biden said that we ran out of FEMA funds to help in North Carolina because of the fact that we were giving out free money and free supplies to people in New York. This is a fact. You know what? I'm not going to debate it because everybody watching.
I'm going to call a timeout. I'm going to call a timeout here. All right.
Everybody watching can go.
Let's call a timeout. We're doing great. Listen, we're doing great. I'm doing horrible. You guys are doing great. Okay. I hope I don't mess this up for you guys. You guys are doing amazing. I love this. Coach D, let me ask you a question with all this. Okay. The election, right? Obviously, you're not, I'm assuming you're not happy with the results, right? Did you see this coming, or was this a surprise to you?
Let me I gotta address something real fast.
You gotta go back. All right, let's do it, Coach D. Take your time. Don't feel rushed.
Brought up funds going to Ukraine, which is a typical talking point that you're asking me if I expected the results of the election. I didn't very much, but what I did expect is that someone was going to bring up funds going to Ukraine that could have been used. Listen, when we are not sending funds overseas and Democrats are asking for funds to go back to the American people, such as like paying off student loan debt or putting more into Social Security or putting more into Medicaid or putting more into any entitlement, you know what Republicans say? That's socialism. So to say, oh, if we didn't send that money to Ukraine, we could have sent it to the LA fires or the people in North Carolina. You guys never want to do that. So that is another one of those talking points that you guys like to throw out there. When we are not sending money overseas, which every president does. President Trump sent money overseas. President Bush sent money overseas. They all send money overseas.
Much lesser degrees.
So it's the amount that matters. So it's the amount. Okay, so you don't mind sending money overseas, but the amount matters to you.
No, I'm personally very much against sending almost anything overseas. But again, we'll talk about that later on. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later on because I know Coach wanted to move on from it.
Okay, I want to answer your question.
I'm also against socialism and all that stuff, and we'll talk about that later.
What's socialism? What is socialism, and why are you against it?
Didn't you want to answer Coach HP's question first, or whatever it was?
No, I'd rather you answer that.
Okay.
When you say you're against socialism and all that, what is socialism and why are you against it?
So I am pro-capitalism, first of all. So that is a system where you don't have coercion. And it's why socialism is inherently immoral, one, and two, unrealistic. Socialism is immoral and unrealistic, and I'll break it down for you. It's immoral because the only way that socialism works is under violence or the threat of violence. Two, and unrealistic because if that weren't the case, we would have plenty of examples of socialist utopias, right, where people can live in. Because here's the thing, if you want to be a socialist and live your life as a socialist, I'm totally cool with it. As in, if you believe in living in a commune and sharing everything, singing Kumbaya together, then, obviously it's not socialism. But I'm saying if you want to get a community of people together that shares healthcare services and food and whatnot, you can do that. Under a capitalist system, you can be a socialist, right? Under a capitalist system, you can get together a socialist carpenter, a socialist farmer, a socialist engineer, a socialist doctor. You can all get together anywhere that you want and then share resources, right? Do that in exchange for products and services freely exchanged amongst each other. You know the reason why that doesn't happen? Because productive members of society don't think that what they have to offer is an equal exchange for what the ones that are proposing socialism have to offer. So usually the people proposing socialism are the ones that have, I don't know, a liberal arts degree in basket weaving, this is already just so you know a joke, but the people proposing socialism are not the doctors and the engineers or anything like that, or else they would have already done it. They could do that. So, but what socialists want to do is force other people into sharing with them. And the only way they can do that is by the threat or coercion of violence, right? So forcing people to pay higher taxes to then fund the things that they want for free. That's why. So, and what happens if you don't pay your taxes?
Let me get it, Adriana. Hold on. Let me get in, Adriana.
So
let me get in.
You wouldn't give.
Adriana, let me get in. Okay. All right. Doing amazing. Okay, Coach D, here's my answer to you. First of all, you're talking to two Cubans. Okay, Coach D. So when you mention socialism to us, it automatically goes to communists. Okay, and you know where that leads in our world. Okay, but I trust also, Coach D, your intelligence. So I'm gonna answer what I think socialism is, and I'll let you respond, Coach D. Is that cool?
Yep.
Okay. To me, socialism is everybody makes the same. It's capped, and then the extra money gets run by a certain amount of people. So no matter how hard Coach D works in his life and Coach HP doesn't work, you get the same amount, I get the same amount, we get the same kind of benefits. And the government now, since they have the power, because obviously there's going to be some extra money, they handle the distribution, they handle what they feel benefits the government and the country. What do you say to that, Coach D? Am I close or no?
That is not socialism. And first of all, let me just make sure you guys know, no one in the Democratic Party is proposing that. No one is. No one's proposing socialism.
Bernie Sanders.
Who has? Bernie Sanders? Okay, so you're right. Bernie Sanders has proposed some form of socialism. However, that's not socialism. What we have in this country already is we have a. I'm sorry.
And AOC as well, you know, like prominent members of the party.
No, they're not proposing full-on socialism. They're proposing to extend some of the socialistic type of policies we have in this country. You already live in a system right now where things are shared. Okay, do you have any children, Driana?
I do not yet.
Okay, did you go to college or school?
Yes, I do.
Okay, what college did you go to?
Florida International University, locally.
Okay.
I graduated 2 bachelors a very long time ago. I'm not going to disclose when. Ladies never
okay. Privilege. So that is a public school, right?
Yes, it is a public university.
Okay. So you realize that there are people in Florida who funded your college.
I love this topic and I love this excuse. Just because I am receiving benefits, or just because I use public transportation, the highways, the roads, the public schools that the government has created, basically through the coerced use of my money, I didn't get a chance to have a say in like the taxes that were taken from you, from me, from my parents, from my neighbors, on where that money goes, right?
So
just because you use the services that just because you use the services that were paid for by the taxes that were coercively taken from people does not make me a socialist. It's the fact that I have no other options.
I am not calling you a socialist.
But I support it at all in any way.
So
and that I don't think that it can be done better.
Okay, if it were up to you, then you wouldn't have public colleges, you wouldn't have public roads, you wouldn't have public police officers or firefighters.
So I believe the government should get the heck out of education in its entirety.
I said police and fire. Police and fire.
Police and fire department should be as local as possible, and it should be funded by the people of that very local community, basically, so that they know where their money is going to.
So that is still by coercing your tax dollars.
No, because at that point you would have a choice to actually live and participate in that community, or go to another community, or to not pay taxes or anything at all and live off the grid. And that is also an option, by the way, that people have in this country. In some places, I don't do it. I'd prefer to live in a place that has small government, right? Small government, where my taxes are going towards what the government's function should be, like roads, like the fire department, like law enforcement. Absolutely. I don't think that my money should go to public schools, by the way. Those are shitty government indoctrination centers that unfortunately fail students and teachers and the whole community. The public even at a higher level, you know, I love my alma mater because of good memories and everything, haha. But the reality is that most government schools, most public universities are not that great because unfortunately they're graduating kids that have no life skills, nothing practical that's useful for once they get out of school and face the real world. That is the product of the government funding and incentivizing this. If universities relied on the public to pay for those services, those classes, one, tuition would not be at the rate that it is right now. It is over 500 or 800 times the rate of inflation, or I forgot what the amount was. It's ridiculous. I can probably agree on that education costs are absolutely ridiculous. But you know why they're ridiculous? Because of the government getting involved in education, because of the creation of, you know what? And you and I probably benefited from this, by the way, the Pell Grants, FAFSA, right? So FAFSA, federal grants and federal loans, 5% of FAFSA, that's the amount of money that is considered a grant. So that's money that whoever gets that, those students don't need to pay back whatever it is that they're given. It's for low-income students, super low-income students.
Can I say
the
something?
Other 95% are loans. So you know what the universities did? Real quick, I promise, 15 seconds. You know what universities did? They raised the prices of the tuition because now students can ask for an unlimited amount of money from the government, and the government's going to say, yeah, here you go, and get themselves in debt for the rest of their life. So as you see, it is a revolving problem. The government creates a problem, and then we
hold
have
on
to...
one second, Adriana, hold on one second.
I just want to clarify, if it were up to you, you would not have public education at all from K through whatever. Okay.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. I think it should be local, like homeschooling for local communities.
I think
local communities can pay teachers. Local communities can pay at the county level, at the city level for that kind of education.
I think what you're not understanding is even if it's local, if you're paying into it, it's still a tax. It's still
voluntarily, and it's optional too.
So
meaning,
if you're living in that community and you don't want to be educated, so you're saying you shouldn't have to be educated either, then?
I'm saying that the government does a really shitty job of educating people, and that if parents were able to pay for their students to be educated the way that they wanted to be educated, then then they would probably have a much better quality education, and it would be cheaper. That's what I'm saying. The quality would be better and it would be cheaper instead of having the federal government and the state government do it. Does that make sense?
I don't really have a problem with the quality of education right now, but I do think it could always improve. But I disagree with you that they're indoctrination stations and the people are graduating without skills. Most people in this country are living and working an honest day's work of a job and everything. You don't have most people. I don't know where it comes from that people are leaving college with worthless degrees and not doing anything with their lives. Like that's not what's happening. This country is
unfortunate and it's sad.
Okay. What's the statistic then? What is the statistic that you're saying? What's the number on?
It depends on what college, and it depends. It obviously depends from university to university. But a lot of kids have these liberal arts degrees that, you know what they're qualified to do when they get out of school? I don't know, drive for Uber, do Uber Eats,
that's not true.
Work at a sandwich shop. They have no, and again, this is why we need to reel in government, because why are you even offering a degree in feminist studies? It should be illegal to do that shit. The freaking university should be punished for that. They shouldn't be paying a teacher to teach that shit either. It's freaking useless. And there's kids that are going to school graduating from that. You know what is the #1 degree in the entire country? You know what's the #1 degree that kids graduate in? Psychology. Psychology. How many psychologists do you think, what is the market for psychologists in the United States that it is the #1 graduating degree in the entire freaking country? I mean, I don't know. I don't know how things are happening in California. They might all have to be employed over there. But regardless, It's there. It's not useful. It's not a useful degree. It's
Wait,
not a
first
useful
of
life
all,
skill
yes, it is.
unless it's in combination with something
Okay,
else that
hold on.
is
Let me step in, Brianna. Give
practical.
me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Give me
You
1 second.
asked for an example and I
Hold on
gave
a
it to
second. I
you.
got it. Let me
Okay,
go.
let me tell you something.
Coach D, let me
I
say
don't
something real
believe.
quick. Coach D, give me
Okay,
one
go ahead.
second. I'll let you come back.
Yeah,
First
go
of all,
ahead.
Coach D, you have sabotaged this whole comments. It's all Coach D. Like literally, you have your army here. I'm fighting up. So big shout out. Hey, whether you like it or not, guys in the comments, thank you guys for commenting. I appreciate it. I need to get better at this. I will, but I appreciate that. That's number one. Number two, I have a master's in psychology. So psychology can be used for a lot of things. Obviously, some
Yes, I
people
was going
put
to
it in,
explain what they can
combination
be
with
used
something
for.
put it there. Obviously, not all being psychologists, you could work with special needs kids. You could work as a
Yep.
so many things, right? So that's it. Number two, I just really want to thank both you guys, right? Because Coach D, man, you've been doing this for a while, dude. You're the guy. You know, I wish you more. I wish you didn't have to be a coach, man. I wish you were the mayor of Los Angeles, you know, because in my opinion, this is my honesty, man. If you were on a plane, if you would let's say you were in Ghana, right, for whatever reason, and somebody were to interview you there with a camera in your face, you would not stay quiet and just be like, whatever. You would say whatever's on your mind. You strike me as that kind of guy. I could be incorrect. If the mayor, if Gavin Newsom were to come into a place, in my opinion, Coach D, you would give him your 2 cents, whether you were agree with him or not. You strike me as that kind of guy. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I want to tell you guys something too. First of all, I don't know if psychology is the top degree, so I'm just going to take your word for it. But I do know that you can be a sports psychology, you could be a family therapist, you could work with special needs kids. There's a lot. Psychology itself is the umbrella, but there are a lot of other degrees that fall under that umbrella.
There isn't a job demand for the amount of people with degrees. That's what I'm saying.
There's a demand for it though, and you can start your own business, but that's beside the point.
That's entrepreneurship. We have something in common. That's entrepreneurship. Start your own business for sure. And if you think psychology helps with that, and if you want to be a coach that uses a psychology degree in talking to people and giving them useful like life advice, then there you go. But it is in conjunction with what? Capitalism, free markets, entrepreneurship. That's what I'm saying.
Nobody here is against, like, I'm not saying no one has said they're against capitalism and for socialism, but I do believe that we live in a country that is a capitalist country that has social programs that we need, that I really believe in. And I have to, and I don't agree with you in any way that we shouldn't have public education. I think it actually works. It helped me a lot. It did a good job for me. My daughters both go to public education, and they're going to graduate and
so did I, by the way. I went to public school, K through 12.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a very good process.
We survived though. We're good
I disagree. I disagree that we survived.
We're good examples. There's unfortunately a lot of kids that graduate 12th grade without knowing how to read, write, or be at a proficient grade level, and that is unfortunate. That can be done a hell of a lot better.
But there's
schools, and especially since you care so much about DEI, especially in minority majority communities, those shitty schools have a higher percentage of graduating kids, or just having kids that don't pass, graduating kids that can't read or write or function proficiently at the grade level they're supposed to. And that is, again, disturbing. So if we're on the same page here, because we probably want the same things, we do want to help people. At the end, there's two kinds of liberals that I believe exist, and I think you are the good-hearted one that actually wants to give back to the community. It's just that we have different ideas on how to get to that, on how to help people out the most. And then there's the other kind of liberal that says, oh, I'm a liberal, but it's because it's self-serving. Meaning I'm a liberal because I've got $100,000 in student loans, and so I need a Democrat in place in government so that he can hopefully one day take those payments away and pass on my debt to somebody else. Unfortunately, there's two kinds of liberals, and I think you strike me as the first one. So we probably have a lot of things in common about things that we care about that could be done a lot better. Just different ways of doing it.
I think liberals
very little.
I don't think liberals are liberals. I don't think there are liberals who are liberal because they want the government to pay off their student loan. I'm a person who went to college on a track and field scholarship. My wife got a student loan. We paid that off. We both happily would pay for people to have their student loans paid off because we realize that
argument.
What's that?
I hate that argument. I hate that argument. We would happily pay higher taxes.
That's fine that you hate that argument, but here's the thing for me.
Because you can do it if you wanted to. There's nothing stopping you from paying more money to the IRS. So stop it. It's very easy to be generous with somebody else's money. It's, you know,
no, I'm being generous with my money. And listen, as a person who took from other people because you went to public school, K through getting 2 bachelor's degrees, you are now saying
that's like being born and saying I didn't ask to be born.
Can I finish?
Sorry, I want to interrupt you. Go ahead.
It's so easy and convenient for people who took advantage of the system to say I didn't ask for it, but I took advantage of it. And now that I took advantage of it, I'm going to look down on anyone else who wants to take advantage of it. And I don't believe in public education and blah, blah, blah. You literally went through the system. I can't imagine right now you're not taking advantage of something. Like you just said, you want police, you want fire, but you don't want public education. It is a common thing for Republicans to shit on education without any facts. It's a common thing to do this, and that's what you're doing. This has literally been like just an hour of talking points with no facts to go with it, and that's what bothers me is that I want to talk about facts, and I don't want to just throw out like vague talking points. When I ask you to clarify something and you say, I heard it or I saw this, no, that doesn't clarify. Like if you were in my class and I told you to cite a source and you said, I heard it or I saw it, that you would fail that essay.
This is a live debate. Because if I asked you to quote something
don't bring stuff up.
Yes. Me, the New York Times.
Bring it up. If I bring it up, are you going to post it on this chat? Are you going to post it on a live thing? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's why for these, if I was writing,
hold on. Let me ask you a question, Janet. Hold on, Coach D. Let me ask you a question.
You should be ready to support that statement with facts. If you
Coach D, let me ask you
be ready to support it with facts. I wouldn't bring something up. When you asked me about the 20 million, I told you where it was reallocated to. You brought it up, but you had no idea what went on with that money. If you're going to bring something up, be ready to support that with facts. Be ready to cite your sources because
let me ask you a question.
It just seems like you don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, Coach D, let me ask you a question. Where do you get your facts from?
Yeah.
I get my facts from different sources. I mean, I try to just, I'm well read. I read a lot of things. I get my facts from books, from the internet, from the news. I get my facts from a lot of sources. I mean, I'm a very
the same places that I get my facts from, but you have just been trying to say that, talking shit, that like because of that what I'm saying is not true.
When you say that the 20 million, when you say there was $17 million cut from the firefighter budget, and then you say things like, and I don't know what they did with it.
Which was true. Listen, and I said that I didn't know where that money went.
One at a time.
So when you don't know if you don't know where the money went, to use it as a talking point without knowing actually where it went.
It is a talking point because it was wrong to go to the law enforcement department.
It makes you seem like you don't know what you're talking about and you're just trying to peddle a bunch of talking points.
You're trying to justify
and just rhetoric that you got from Fox News. Like
I'm sorry you're so flustered.
17 million.
Okay,
that's a good one. I'm flustered. I'm triggered. That's good. Okay.
Let me ask you a question.
The liberals triggered.
You got it, Coach D. So let's say an example. I go to Fox News. What do you go to then? Is because you said books, sources, etc. Is it CNN? Is it what are you going to base your facts off? Because is that the biggest problem in this country? That one person reads this and then that person reads that, and they're both different and there's no facts. Where are you getting your facts from?
So the problem in this country is this: when I hear something on CNN, I verify it. I will look on Fox News. I don't think Fox News is always lying. I don't think CNN is always lying, but sometimes both of them lie. So if I see something on one source, I will try to verify it on multiple sources. But also what I'm saying is, Driana didn't say something that was a lie, but she just didn't know all of the facts behind it. So if you're going to bring up the 17 million, because all you heard was that they cut 17 million from the budget. And what I'm telling you is that cut is probably something that Republicans would even do. There is going to be cuts. Like, did you guys, when you heard that COVID, What's that?
So
Yes, there's gonna if less taxes are coming in and there needs to be cuts made, there are gonna be some hard cuts made sometimes, and
probably not from the
understand
fire
that.
department and law enforcement, though.
But
That's the
okay,
difference
so
between.
but
the left and the right.
that is a great talking point now. But if we were talking about, you know, someone walked into a classroom and there wasn't pencils there, you would say, why are they cutting money from the pencil fund? I mean, that is easy to do, but again, you didn't know where the money went, and you assumed that's the problem.
I asked you where the money went, and you told me to law enforcement.
Let me finish this point.
Once you're done being flustered, I will answer to you.
Yeah, I'm flustered. Okay, yeah, I
continue.
know. I'm triggered. I'm triggered right
Coach D, no, he's not triggered. Coach D,
listen.
finish strong. Go for it, Coach D.
Listen, saying that I'm flustered and triggered, that doesn't mean anything to me. What I'm saying is, you said the 17 million was cut, and then you insinuated, I don't know if it went to immigration or DEI or LGBTQ. That is a talking point. That is a horrible, evil, hatred, bigoted talking point when the money actually was reallocated to the police department. Had you known that when you came on this live, you wouldn't have made those ignorant statements about DEI and LGBTQ. Like, that's horrible. And you have to admit that that's a horrible thing to do when it's actually the money went to be allocated to the police department.
Okay, so I will counter what you just said in 15 seconds. Yes, absolutely. 20 million or 17 million was taken away from the fire department in LA. This is a fact. What I did not know is that it went to the law enforcement department, which is crazy to think about, that they didn't have enough money to go to both things, right? When LA brings so much in taxes. And the reason why it's annoying and it's irresponsible is because LA spends so much money on things that aren't the law enforcement department and that aren't the fire department, because they're spending money on other things that don't cater to their people, because it has
all right, that's 15 seconds, Brianna, 15 seconds.
Democrat government.
That's 15 seconds.
So yes, the law enforcement absolutely never should have had to need 20 million extra dollars, and the fire department should have never had that money taken away from them. And that is the last point that I will make on that.
Okay, Coach D, you want to talk about that because we're about to wrap up? You want to respond to that, Coach D?
Yeah, as someone who has been a liaison for the police department and has talked to government officials, my brother also writes grants for a lot of cities and their police and fire departments. A lot of times, a lot of that money that's being allocated to those departments are being allocated for things that are completely worthless and sometimes being misused. So unless you know those things, you probably shouldn't talk about it. Like, there's been grants written for money for police departments to have, to hire more staff. And instead they've used that money to buy like big tanks and stuff in small towns where they don't need those things. So there's a lot of times when cuts need to be made and they're never because they're focused on DEI or the LGBTQ or anything like that. Like, that is literally a talking point. DEI doesn't cost, cities a bunch of money. DEI, again, so I can explain it. It's diversity.
It must be why they have been banning complete DEI departments, right?
It is diversity. It is equity.
Major corporations have completely cut DEI once the government made it legal for them to do so because it's useless.
There have been some departments that have, but DEI is not useless at all. What part of DEI do you not like? Is it the diversity, the equity?
It's the racism, actually, that I don't like. It's the racism. Okay,
so again, there's no racism. What DEI does is cast a wider net. There's no racism involved in DEI.
Then you wouldn't need DEI if that was the case.
Oh, so what do you do when you have studies that show that you can? There's a study done by Stanford University.
What study? Wait, what study? You're not going to bring it up right now? You're not going to show me the paper, or is it some random study that I just?
No.
Okay. I thought we were talking about that. I thought you were talking shit about that a little earlier. Whatever, I'll allow it. Go ahead.
Yes, the study was done by Stanford University. That is the name of the study. It was done by Stanford University. This study showed that when you send out applications, they sent out 100 applications. 50 of them had white sounding names, or they were actually marked as white people. 50 were black people. They called back more of the white people who had convictions on their records more than they did black people with the exact same application. The application had the exact same had the exact same experience, had the exact same education. They called back more white people who had convictions, who were convicted felons than they did black people. Than they did black people. This was sent out to Fortune 500 companies. What do you do? How do you answer to things like that are in our community that show?
Coach D, you're on point. You're on point. Let's do this because we got 2 minutes left. Okay, we're gonna get closing arguments. Ladies first, Driana. Driana, 1 minute. Share whatever you want to say. You got a lot of liberals here that are going ham. So, Driana, you got 1 minute.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So my philosophy has always been live and let live. Do whatever you want as long as it doesn't affect me personally, as long as you don't make me pay it, as long as it doesn't affect my pocket. The role of government should be small. It should be as local, as small as possible. And the only way to make the government work for us is by limiting the power of the government and of politicians, not giving them more power, not giving them more money, right? And unfortunately, right now, that is what is going on in this country. That is what politicians have been doing to us for the longest time, is putting our interests last because they make money from it, right? And you and I probably are in favor of a lot of those things. We're in favor of term limits, right? I'm in favor of completely cutting lobbying and the ability of politicians to take money from lobbying. So that way, instead of listening to corporations and individuals, they listen to their constituents. So again, you don't have to go into nitty gritty details. If you apply,
okay, that's 1 minute, Driana. 1 minute, Driana.
If you don't know, if you apply this philosophy to everything across the board, I will always be consistent in what I believe in, no matter what the topic.
Okay,
healthcare,
Coach
education,
D. Coach D, you got your minute, buddy. You ready, Coach D? Promote whatever you want, buddy. Go for it.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I reiterate that there's no racism and diversity, equity, and inclusion. What it does is make sure that we are casting a wide enough net that we are getting the most qualified people from every single background, every single ethnicity, and all of that. If you want to ask me why I feel the way that I do, I've been teaching in a program for foster youth kids, mothers without or kids who have baby or mothers who don't have fathers with them and stuff like that. This program gives, these students of mine, they get a free backpack, a free meal every day. They get a gas card. They get a bus pass if they need it. They basically give these students that I have the resources that I'm able to give my children. And what we found is that those kids are very successful. I've seen in my 20 years teaching in this program, many of my former students come back as professors, as advisors, as psychologists, as counselors, as administrators, because those things work. That is why I'm the person I am. That's why I'm empathetic. That's why I'm sympathetic. That's why I do believe in the government. When we talk about the preamble, tells us what the government should do for the country, right? In order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, ensure the common welfare, all those things. I believe in that because I've seen those things work. I think government has a role in our lives. They take our taxes. We should be able to say, hey, put those taxes towards helping other people. And that's why I'm the person that I am.
Coach D, that was great.
Heart people. You have a good heart, Coach. You have a good heart.
Listen,
I'll give you that much.
He should be off the track field and we vote for Coach D, but he doesn't want to do it. He wants to stay in the house, chill, win state championships, produce track athletes, and he doesn't want to step on the front line. Great guy. Coach D, I don't tell you this enough, man. I think about you a lot. Godspeed with your success, man. I really hope one day you put it out there and get the vote out for you, man, because I think that's tremendous. Driana, Driana's going to be a star. I'm telling you, I see it. The comment section doesn't agree, but she's definitely going to.
It's okay. I don't have that big of a fan base yet.
Okay. Driana, where can people find you?
On everywhere. So Twitter, well, now called X, Instagram, Facebook if you want to, TikTok. Driana Sixto, you type in my name, there is no other Driana Sixto on Earth or in the continental United States. So it should be pretty easy to find me. You can also find a lot of fun debates like this, especially on TikTok. So follow me there. And I guess I'll definitely be posting a little bit more content on Instagram in the near future, highlights of, our fantabulous discussion that we just had as well.
Coach D,
so feel free to follow me, reach out. Thank you guys so much again for this.
Coach D.
Thank you guys. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate, having me on and everything. I appreciate the spirited debate with Driana. Driana, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. Hopefully there's no, hard feelings or anything like that.
No, you're good.
We're just having a good conversation. I'm a very respectful person typically, so hopefully that came across. But I do appreciate you guys' time.
Thank you, Coach D. All right, guys, we'll talk.
Yep.
Bye.
See you
guys.
Bye.